Happy Easter, everybody. Good to see y'all. Welcome to everybody who's joining us in our Delton campus and at our Middleville campus, and those of you joining us online. So I'm going to try this again. I want to hear it from all our campuses. Happy Easter. All right, that always makes me feel good. So glad you're with us. You know, everybody likes to win something. I know this. Most people enjoy it. I'm one of those people. Some of you are like me. I don't think I've ever won a thing in my life. But we thought we'd give you an opportunity on this. And so at all our campuses, so at every campus, on the underside of your chair, there may be taped up to the bottom of it a bottle cap. So if you just put your hand under, I want everybody to do that. Middleville, Delton too. Just put your hand under there, feel around. If you feel a bottle cap that's taped down there, lift it up, hold it up. There is a $25. Okay, hold it up so it can be seen. If you're in Middleville, Delton, hold it up. If you got one, hold it up. There's somebody over here. We got a $25 gift certificate to Amazon that you got that. Good job, everybody. You won something. But now I got to ask, all right? I mean, come on. Do you know how many boogers you just ran your hand over? I mean, seriously. And you people in Delton, you're in a school auditorium. That's like Booger Central, right? So, I mean, I know why we do this. We think we can win something, but you went after it. So a lot of you were down there, just right down there grubbing around. And so actually now the ushers are going to hand out sanitary wipes. Would you hand them out, please? Because some of you are going to want to shake hands afterwards, and I don't want to come near you until you use that. So take one and use it and clean yourself up, because that's real. Do us all a favor, all right? So let's just, I fear that I've lost you now at this point, all right? Let's be honest on this. I mean, we're always looking for valuable stuff. Because we like stuff. I know you do. You like stuff. I like stuff. So this is what we do. You know, I think I can win something. So I have no problem running my hand under the gum and everything else that somebody's put under there, the slime and all that. And so because we like stuff. And there's stuff everywhere in life. Everywhere. Life is filled with stuff. It's all around us. And so we look for it, and then we find it. We get good deals. We buy it. And, of course, then once you start to build up your stuff, what's the problem? You got to figure out what to do with it. You have to store it somewhere. You have to keep it neat. My wife talks about this, calls it the burden of ownership. You have to figure out where you're going to store your stuff. And, of course, some people, and you know this, some people actually go to such extremes that it becomes unhealthy. It becomes actually like a sickness. And we call those people what? Can anybody tell me? We call them hoarders. There's actually been TV programs where people are, they do these programs about people that are hoarders. And all I can say is, thank God we're not like those people, right? I mean, thank God none of us are like that. But then again, if we're really honest, can I let you in a secret? We're all hoarders. Now, I know some of you are going, no, not me. You think you're not a hoarder? All right, let's just look at the definition of hoard, the word hoard. It says to amass money or valued objects. It doesn't say that they're necessarily valuable to everybody. It just means you're collecting something that's valuable to you. To amass money or valued objects and hide or, read it with me, store away. So now let's just ask the question again. Are you a hoarder? Do you realize that the person next to you is a hoarder? So, in fact, let's just do this. You've been wanting to do this. Just turn to the person next to you right now and go, you are a disgusting hoarder. Just say, be a little snarky about it. And I know some of you really want to say that to your mate right now, because you're like, this is not a joke. He really is a disgusting hoarder. You really feel that way. But look, I understand that there are levels in this. It's not really totally black and white. Most of us, we would view ourselves, as little hoarders. Okay, Jeff, by definition of that, I'm a tiny little, I'm not like the crazy people that you hear about. I'm just a tiny little hoarder. It's an interesting thing to think about, though. I mean, what do you think people who live, for example, in a home like this, what do you think those people would say if they saw, let's just say, your shoe collection? Now, in fairness, the people who are living in this place, theirs is an economic issue. And probably if they could amass more wealth, they would do the same thing as most of us have done. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not trying to, criticize any of us. We're all in the same boat with this. I have stuff, you have stuff. We like our stuff. And the whole conversation, as I said, it's not black and white. And since we're all at different places, because I know some of you, you've hoarded more stuff than others, and we all think differently about it, I thought we'd do a little exercise. I think this will be interesting, all right? I just want you to go along with me on this. If you were about to lose everything you owned, I mean all of it. Now, that would not include family because we don't own people. But everything else, your stuff, your money, your savings, your pets, everything. If it was all about to go away and it would never come back and you could only keep 2 things, what would be the 2 things that you would value the most and want to keep? Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to think about it and then tell the person next to you the 2 things that you would keep. Ready? Begin. Okay, this is a pretty rowdy crowd. I'm going to have to shut you down now, all right? Your 20 seconds are up. Now, I'm just curious. I would have loved to have been in the middle of some of these conversations to hear what you said were your most valuable things. But let me just ask a few that I think might make it higher on those. Did anybody say old photos? Old photos. Okay, a number of you did. I mean, you say those can't be replaced. Anybody say artwork, for example, like, oh, that painting by Mother could never be replaced. You know, it's like artwork. Anybody say money? Okay. Well, we know where your heart is. All right, did anybody, you know, I mentioned pets. Did anybody say you'd take your dog? How many of you said you'd take your dog? Okay, quite a lot of you. How many of you said you'd take your cat? Okay, I do not understand you people at all. You are crazy, all right, just for the record. Okay, so one more question then while we're at it. Did anybody say, you know what, none of it means anything to me? I wouldn't choose to because none of it means anything to me. If you answered that way, I am so impressed. And I would love to have you come to me after the service. Come right up to the front after the service. And I'd like to get your name and your address because I'd like to come to your house and pick out some things. Because none of it matters to you, right? Come on. I would love to do that. And don't worry, I won't take your cat. So that will be left. It'll be all right. But I think it's a good question to ask. In all of our busy, super active, super rich, you know, because we're Americans, we have so much stuff. We have stuff. In the midst of our busy, super rich, super stuff-filled lives, I think it's worth asking, what really matters? Like, what is the greatest thing? Now, my guess is that almost every person listening to me, whether you're sitting in Delton or Middleville or watching online or here in Hastings, you probably could come up with a reasonably intelligent-sounding answer. The truth is that all of us could give a pretty good answer to that. We'd say, well, it's not my stuff, and we'd start to talk about whatever we deemed was the most important thing in life. But in real life, let's just be honest. In real life, we all know that we sometimes get caught up in stuff and lose sight of the things that are most important. Anybody going to acknowledge that happens sometimes? We get caught up in stuff and we kind of lose sight of the things that really matter. So, 15, 16 years ago, my mom, near the end of her life, came to live with us for the last 2 or 3 years of her life before she passed away. And my mom had MS and she was in a wheelchair. And for some reason, her wheelchair, the level of her wheelchair, the arms on it were just at the right height. It was a motorized wheelchair. And the arms were just at the right height where one of the arms would come up over our kitchen table. We have a big, long kitchen table. We had a big family. And it had something sharp underneath. And it was like somebody used a router and just gouged chunks out of my kitchen table. My kitchen table. And my mother did it. And she was the worst driver of a motorized wheelchair the world has ever known. And she hit doors and busted them, and she busted door jambs. And I was like, you're destroying my house. You know, I love my mom, but she was destroying my house. And I felt, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I was angry about it. I never yelled at mom or anything, but I was like, she could probably see the disgust in my face when she'd leave another gouge into the table, or I'd come home, there'd be another door busted, you know, something that she'd hit. And she'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'd be like, no problem, Mom. You were really ticking me off. I didn't say the last part. I just thought of, do you know what I'm talking? You know what's ironic? This is the ironic thing. Mom's been gone 13 years now, roughly. And we still have the same kitchen table, and the gouges are still there. I almost never see them anymore. You know how that goes. It's a crack in the mirror. You stop seeing it. But when I do, now, I run my finger over them, and I think about how amazing my mom was and how much I loved her. What was damaged goods in the moment, I realize now, is of great value to me. This is the irony that so much of the stuff that you and I get caught up in and treasure and get so anxious about and concerned about is in a landfill somewhere right now. Come on, is that true? Okay, I want to try this again because you're acting all pious here. Like, no. Is that true? You know it's true. You know this is the reality of our lives. We lose sight of the things that matter. At least for me. I can't speak for you, but I think I know for you this is true too. I have to keep reminding myself not to forget what really matters. What's most important, what really counts. But it's a battle. And it's a battle for all of us because though we know, there are things that are greater than our stuff, it's like we get a chance to win a $25 gift card and we're back in the boogers one more time again. We're just doing this. It's a battle for us. It's interesting. This thing about Easter. Most people, if you ask them, what does Easter mean? A lot of people would, argue that it's about Easter bunnies and chocolate and all that stuff. But people that have any religious connection at all, they would say that it's the Christian celebration of Jesus rising from the dead, the resurrection of Christ. And that would be true. But it is so much more than that. And I think sometimes we miss sight of that. It's really the celebration of what has become the most important thing in all of human history ever. It is the understanding for all time that what matters more than anything else in life, what matters more than anything in your life, all your stuff, whatever it is God's love. What matters more, what's the greatest thing, is God's incredible love. And this is the kind of love that was willing to sacrifice itself, sacrifice everything, fully give itself to humankind, not because they were worthy of it or because they deserved it. They certainly didn't. But because of this love that God has for us. God became one of us and then offered himself up to pay the price for humankind's rejection of their Creator. And then when Jesus rose from the dead, which, of course, we talk about and celebrate on Easter weekend, when Jesus rose from the dead, what he did was prove that real love, God's love, always wins. Real love, God's love, this is what he proved for all of time, forever, is that real love, God's love, always wins. And I hope that everybody can take that with them and carry it around, because the greatest thing in life is not the newest toy you get. It's not that you have the perfect house that you always dreamed of, or that you got the good grades in college, whatever. It's none of those things. The greatest thing is God's love, because Jesus proved this, rose from the dead. In life, in death, whatever it is, God's love always what? Wins. Let's say these four words together. God's love always wins. It always wins. No matter what's happening in your life, no matter where you're at, up, down, in between, the greatest thing. And I don't want you to miss this. The greatest thing in the world is God's incredible love. And look, I know some of you are here because somebody invited you and you're like, just to get you off my back, I'll go to church. And you're not even sure you believe any of the God stuff, and you're certainly not sure you believe in the Christianity thing. But I am of the deepest conviction that of all the things you could ever have, the greatest thing is already here, and it is free. Now, don't miss this. It is God's unconditional love to us, and then through us. The greatest thing. Whatever you're working on these days, whatever you're engaged in, whatever you're involved in your life, the greatest thing is God's love to us, and then what? Through us. This is what matters most. This is the most important thing. And I think, even if you're unsure of God, intuitively, you know nothing matters like love. You already know that. People will say that, love is important. You know that he who dies with the most toys does not necessarily win. It is not about all you accumulate. It's not about all you have. That we think when we see people being buried, was there love in that life? That's what we think, because the greatest thing, we know this. It's DNA deep in us. What matters in your life more than anything else, more than the next vacation you have planned, more than whatever it is you're planning or you think is important to get, this thing matters. Is there real love? Was there love in your life? And yet every day, because humankind is broken, and you know this, we have to remind ourselves, we have to fight for this, because I'll tell you, the greatest thing is not always easy. And it's not always fun. God kind of love, the real kind of love, is often a hard thing. I mean, like a really difficult thing. Our culture tells us that, this is how people talk about it. They talk about love like this, like it's a possession. They talk about, I just fell in love. I saw him, and oh my gosh. I was overcome. And what we describe are the emotions we feel, the good things that we experience we describe it like it's a possession. But the greatest thing kind of love is not a possession. Actually, the greatest thing kind of love is quite difficult at times and quite hard, because it's sacrificial love. Real love is not, I just saw him and I saw her and I just couldn't take my eyes off her. Oh my gosh, it was that's not real love. That's real emotion. Sometimes people say, I'm so in love, and everybody's thinking the same thing. You're not in love, you're just in heat, right? Come on, that's what people are thinking. True? See, that's not real love. That's not real love. See, greatest thing, real love, is given freely, but it comes at a cost. And you neither fall into it, nor is it always immediately rewarding. Greatest thing, love, can sometimes be painful and difficult and awkward. You already heard in this service the story about how Jesus, after having done all these miracles and amazing things and helped people, he comes to the end, really. It's the last night, and he's with his disciples, and he knows that he's about to be betrayed. He knows that he will be crucified and that he will die. He knows what the future is going to be. And so he wants to teach his disciples something profoundly important. He wants to leave them with something that matters. What is the greatest thing? This is what he tells them. This is so fascinating. He says, a new command I give you. Read it with me. 3 words. Love one another. He says, here's your command. Guys, you need to understand, of all the things you've seen, of all the things you've done, here's what really matters. You love one another. And then he goes on with it, because this is a really important part. He says, as I have loved you, so you must, what? You must. Because that is the greatest thing you will ever do. That is the most important thing you will ever do, is love one another. And of course, he understands that they not only need to hear it from him, but they need to see it. They need to actually know by visualizing what it is that he's talking about. And so some of you know how the story goes. They're about to prepare a meal and experience what we call the Last Supper, the Passover meal, together with his disciples. And the disciples come up into a room. You know how this goes, don't you? And in the room, typically there would be some water in a basin. And there would be a servant there. Now, this is just a small party. Jesus and his disciples are gathering together, and they're going to have this last meal together. And typically there'd be a servant there. And the servant would wash the feet of the people who were coming to the meals. Because, back in those days, they wore sandals, and they would be, kind of dirty. But there was no servant there. And so the disciples walked in. Of course, they're not servants. They're followers of Jesus. So they're not going to do this thing. But what Jesus wants them to see is this kind of love that I told you. Remember what we read? He said, as I have, what? Loved you. So you must love one another. And this is what Jesus does, is He blows their minds. He gets down in front of them to wash their feet. Of course, they're blown away by this. Their whole mindset is turned upside down because, see, this is the thing about the disciples. They'd watch Jesus heal the sick and give sight to the blind and help people who could not walk the walk. They'd seen him do amazing things, wonderful things in people's lives, and they simply could not understand. You can't, and so they argue, you can't wash my feet, but Jesus washes their feet. In fact, look at what he says here. We'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. Jesus says this to his disciples. Can we throw that up so people can see it? That'd be great. Thank you. He says, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that's what I am. But now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. And so then he starts with his disciples. He takes their sandals off. So the thing about washing feet, it's awkward. You feeling a little awkward at this point? Me too. This is the interesting thing. Jesus has water, and he washes the feet of his disciples. He who is the master and the ruler, and it's weird, right? It's just weird. I haven't had my hands on a guy's feet that I can remember. But that is what he does. He washes their feet. I don't know what the equivalent of foot washing is today, but it's hard. And then Jesus comes to a guy, and this is the mind-blowing part, and we heard this discussed. Comes to the feet of, would you play Judas for just a little while? He comes to Judas, whom he knows is about to betray him and have him killed. It would be as if I knew, Dennis, that you were going to kill me. And I knew it. And I washed your feet anyhow. I'm holding, weirdly, the feet of the guy that's going to kill me. And I wash him anyhow. Now, Jesus wasn't affirming by doing this what Judas was about to do when he sold him out. Jesus was not approving of it. Jesus was doing what the greatest thing love does. He loves betrayers and broken people. And the most unlovely of the crowd, it loves them when no reward is ever going to come its way, no thank you note, no appreciation. You know, all the awkwardness and all the pain. Greatest thing, love. It just washes those feet anyhow. And it's weird. And it's awkward. And if you knew Dennis, he says about 5 words in a day. And he's very shy. And this wasn't easy for you. And it wasn't for me either, buddy. I can tell you that. Let's thank Dennis for coming and sharing with us. I want you to hear this because I I don't want you to miss what the greatest thing in life is. I think we go through life and we're so hyped about the next cool restaurant we're going to go to or the movie we're going to see or some possession we're going to have. And I think sometimes we have lost sight of what matters most. It is not us feeling good all the time. It is us living in the way that we were made to live, to love, to receive love, and then to let that greatest thing, love, flow out to us, from us, through us, out to the world around us. It's the greatest thing you'll ever do with your life. It's the most meaningful thing you will ever do. Some of you are working so hard and you're trying to collect more stuff and you're frustrated because you can't get the house you want or because you can't get the kitchen remodeled like you want and you don't have the money to do it. And you need to be reminded just like I do. Nobody is going to stand over your casket or your ashes or whatever it is and look and go, dang, he had the best looking kitchen in the whole world. Nobody's going to say, nobody rocked a video game like him. Nobody's going to say, you're just the smartest person. They are going to remember, did love flow through you? Now, over the coming weeks in this series called The Greatest Thing, we're going to talk about what this kind of love looks like as it relates to our families, as it relates to the people we go to school with and the people we work with. Because it's not just in some idealistic Easter weekend sermon that you hear and go, yeah, that's probably true. This is lived out in everyday nitty-gritty stuff of life. Next weekend, I'm going to talk about significant other love, greatest thing love, with the person that's a significant other in your life. And I don't know where you're at in that. I'm talking boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, that kind of thing. I hope you will be able to come back and hear this talk. I was in conversation recently with someone who said they came on an Easter weekend and then they were intrigued and they came back to hear a talk that was along the same lines as what I'll talk about next week, significant other love. And this guy just said, I owe my marriage to that. Because it will change how you do your life. It will change how you see your life. See, what I can tell you with certainty is that God's love always wins. God's love always wins. Let's say it together again. God's love always wins. Easter's more than candy and egg hunts and church services. It's remembering that the greatest thing ever, God's love, will win. It may be in a difficult place. There may be times where you feel like you're hanging on a cross. But God's love brings that which is dead back to life. That's what the resurrection of Christ proves, that God's love always wins. And that call on every one of our lives is to receive the love that God has for us and then let it flow out to the people around us that we're married to, that we parent or are children of or siblings to or work or go to school with or whatever. There's a fictional story that I want to share with you. It was written many years ago, and then I'm going to tell you the story behind the story. It's about a 5th grade teacher named Mrs. Thompson and a 5th grade boy whose name was Teddy Stoddard. This is a 5th grade boy that she did not like. There was a reason for that. Teddy didn't play well with the other children. He didn't smell good. He didn't really try. He could be unpleasant to be around. And it actually got to the point where she enjoyed putting red ink on his papers because he was just a bad kid and she didn't like him. And it wasn't until around the middle of the school year, she was reviewing his school file. And then she learned the real story. Teddy's 1st grade teacher had written in his file, Teddy's a bright child with a ready laugh. He's a joy to be around. His 2nd grade teacher wrote, Teddy's an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he's troubled because his mother is very ill and life at home must be a struggle. And then she looked to 3rd grade and the teacher wrote, his mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest. And then she turned to the 4th grade and that teacher wrote, Teddy's withdrawn. He doesn't show much interest in school. By now, Mrs. Thompson was ashamed of herself. And it was the Christmas season. She felt even worse after having done that when they had a class party and the students all brought these beautifully wrapped gifts with bright bows and shiny paper. And Teddy came in with a little grocery sack. But she determined that she would open it in the middle of the other gifts and that she would do something with it. And so when she opened it, she reached in and pulled out a rhinestone bracelet, a cheap rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones even missing. The students started to laugh. And then she pulled out a little perfume bottle that was only a quarter full, and it was cheap perfume. And as the students laughed, she stifled their laughter, and she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was. She actually put it on her wrist, and then she dabbed her wrist with the cheap perfume and said it smelled beautiful. And at the end of that school day, Teddy Stoddard stayed just long enough to go to his teacher and say, "Mrs. Thompson, today you smell like my mom." As the story goes, she stayed for an hour and cried after he left. And on that very day, she quit teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. And instead, she began to teach children. And she paid particular interest to Teddy. And his mind seemed to come alive. In fact, by the end of the school year, he'd become one of her brightest students. 6 years later, she got a note from Teddy, and he wrote that he'd finished high school, third in his class. Another 4 years later, she got another letter from him saying that things had been tough, but he'd soon graduate from college with highest honors. And then 4 more years passed, and another letter came, and this time it was signed Theodore F. Stoddard, M.D. And in the letter, he told her that he'd met a girl and that he was going to get married. And he was wondering if she would come and sit in the place where the mother of the groom would sit. And she said yes. And she went and she wore the bracelet and she dabbed the perfume that she still had on her wrist. And at the reception, he leaned over and whispered in her ear, "You're the best teacher I ever had." And she said, "Oh no, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me." Now that story, it's just a fictional story, but it was written by a woman named Elizabeth Ballard, and it was triggered by stories from her own life. As a teacher, she'd been given a cheap bracelet and a small cheap bottle of perfume, and it triggered in her a memory of her impoverished childhood. When all the other students were bringing to class presents that were pretty and beautiful, and the teacher would get those, she was so poor she had nothing, and so she got a little paper bag, and she put some pecans in it that were in the tree, from the tree in her yard. And she took them to the teacher, and of course, when the teacher opened her bag and dumped out the pecans, everybody started to laugh at her until the teacher said, wait a minute, this is the best thing I've got yet, because I'm about to bake a fruitcake, and I needed pecans. I always wondered who baked fruitcakes. I never knew. And out of those experiences of being made fun of because of her poverty, of being rejected because of who she was, and then someone who did greatest thing love, she wrote a story that has touched the hearts of countless people. Because greatest thing love. It loves the unlovely. It loves people who are broken. It loves people who have hurt us. Did you hear it? It loves the very people who have hurt us. The greatest thing that will ever happen in your life, the greatest thing, is for you to experience God's love to you and then through you. Nothing is more important than that. And when it comes to us, and then through us, that's why we celebrate Easter. Because we go to God, and all we've got to offer is cheap junk and stinky perfume, and God looks at whatever we have, and He goes, beautiful. He takes us in His arms and loves us where we are, just as we are. And then He whispers in our ear, now you love the people in your life the same way. You love the people in your life the same way. It will not be easy. It will be painful and difficult. This is the greatest thing you will ever do, is love people the same way. that I have loved you. Just as they are, in their brokenness, there's someone in your life who needs the greatest thing from you. Come on, is that true? Actually, there are a lot of people in your life like that. Greatest thing, love says, I love you just as you are. A lot of you know this. An American icon died earlier this year. His name was Billy Graham. Some of you remember him. This was a guy who was a preacher who preached to millions and millions and millions of people. He preached to packed stadiums all over America and all over the world. And at every one of his crusades, every time he preached, at the end of his message, they would sing a song that represented greatest thing, love. And the song, does anybody remember it? It simply went, just as I am. So I just thought, in honor of Billy's life, and more than that, of God's greatest thing, love, maybe we'd sing a couple verses. So come on up, let's sing that.
As I am, that will receive, we welcome pardon, cleanse, redeem, because thy promise I believe, O Lamb of God.
Greatest thing, the greatest thing that you will ever receive in your life is the love of God, and the greatest thing that you ever give in your life will be the love of God. And maybe this Easter, maybe it is time for you to open your heart up and just receive God's love. You know, sometimes people say, I don't fully understand it. I don't get it all. Welcome to the club. I mean, I don't. Sometimes I've actually just looked to heaven and said, why do you love me? Anybody ever felt that way? How could you love me? And yet, just as I am, where I am, God loves me. And if I open up my heart, He comes in. He puts His arms around me. That happened to me when I was 8 years old. And maybe some of you have had that experience, but you've wandered far from God. You are just a long way from God. Or maybe you've never had that experience where you just opened up and said, now I come. I ask you to come in and take charge of my life. I'd love to pray with you where you're seated. We won't make you stand up. And I'm talking to Delton and Middleville as well. We won't tackle you out in the lobby. But if that's you, would you just do this? Would everybody just bow their heads and close their eyes just for a moment? And if you are here and you're saying, gosh, that's me. I'm a mess and I need God's love. Maybe you made the decision to follow Christ at one time. Maybe you've wandered from God. Maybe you never have. I'd love to pray with you. There are people standing in the front in Middleville and Delton. And if that's you, would you just lift your hand up and make eye contact with the person in front? So I'm here. Anybody, if you want to just lift your hand and make eye contact with me, say, that's me. Okay, awesome. Who else? Over here, over there. That's great. If that's you, just lift your hand up. Don't miss God. If He's speaking to you and saying, I love you where you're at, and you know you need to change and move into the direction of God, lift your hand up. and make eye contact. Okay? Who else? Lift your hand up high and wave it at me. If you haven't made, okay? Back there. Awesome. Awesome, man. Over here. Awesome. That's great. Don't miss this if God's speaking to you. Who else? Just lift your hand up if that's you. And we'll pray in just a moment. We'll pray for all our campuses in Middleville, Delton. Just lift your hand up and look at the person in front. Make eye contact with them. Over here. Okay? All right. That's awesome. Head still bowed, please, and eyes closed. Okay. All right. Got it. You have to pray this. Inside, you pray. Just talk to God right now. Just say, God, I need you in my life. Jesus, I need you in my life. Just pray that. I know you don't have it all figured out. Neither do I, but it's all right. Just say, I need you in my life. I ask you to come in. I give you my heart. Just tell him that. I give you my heart. And if you're serious, just say it. I mean it. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to walk with you. I give you my life. I give you my heart. I come to you. Come in and take charge of my life, Jesus. And if you prayed that prayer now, whether you lifted your hand or not, I pray for every person who lifted their hand that they may be aware of your presence, of your love, of your goodness, and your mercy. Touch their hearts in ways that they've never experienced, and may they grow in their relationship with you each day. And just as a church family now, all of us together, we're just saying, yay, God. Thank you, God, for being a part of people's decisions for Christ. If you lifted your hand and prayed, or if you did not, we'd love to put a book in your hand. It's called 7 Basics. You'll see it on the left. You can text that number and just type in TVC Next, and we'll send it to you. Just follow the prompts. We'll send it to you. Or you can get it right out the Next Step area. And I also just want to encourage you, we have an Explore God group that meets on a regular basis. We'd love to have you be a part of that. And you can find all that stuff, all the information about that. And we have a baptism coming up. If you made the decision to follow Jesus, we do it right here. Get baptized, make it public, tell the world, I'm all in, and that's coming. So let's stand to our feet, and I'll send you with a blessing. May you be aware of the presence of God. May you live not with more stuff, but with the greatest thing ever, God's love, which always what? It always wins. It always wins. Have a wonderful Easter. God bless you. You're dismissed.